Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. I will give it a few minutes for folks to join. I am delinquent this morning. I didn't schedule our event, so I will wait a few minutes and hope to have some folks join us. Good morning. Welcome. It's a new name. Welcome to the community. Hi, Judith. Welcome, welcome. I was apologizing. I am delinquent. I did not schedule this conversation, so I probably threw some of y'all off. Good morning, Lay. Happy Sunday. Hi, Star. Grand Rising. Hello, Latasha. Happy to have you here. Happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you all are here. I will do my kickoff, even though I just lost my slide again. There. Nope. All right, I'm working on this. Y'all know me and my AV technical difficulties. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you are having a great Sunday. I hope you had a great week and are looking forward to another good week. All right, I'm going to do my kickoff. No, that's not it. There we go. All right. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are located. Excuse me. My name is Jewel Pearson. This is Miss Bohemian Soul TV. This is my Creating Home, a Tiny House series. There are 3 segments in the series. This is our community conversations where we're just literally sharing in community. There are 2 other segments, the What's Your Question, where I am answering frequently asked tiny house questions, and then the Conversations on Intimate Spaces, where I am in conversation with a guest who is in and around the tiny house movement or doing something interesting that is somewhat connected, and we're listening and learning about their journey and spending time in conversation with them. As I introduce myself, I always like to say that I built a kind of fancy tiny house in 2015, and since that time, I have been sharing my journey to hopefully inspire others who are interested in the movement. I do offer coaching and consultations to help others in their tiny house journey, and I hope you'll find this video interesting. If you do, you'll find the links to be able to schedule with me in the description, and then I ask you to share the video so that others will see it, like it, join us. And as I'm doing all of that, I like to serve up some representation in the movement. I want us to see ourselves in this movement and be able to speak to and share our journeys and our concerns and all of those good things. All right. Hi, Crystal. Good afternoon. Hi, Rosalind. Kitty. San Diego. I hope the weather there is much better on the West Coast for you and Judith. Hi, Key. Happy to have you here. Hello, Crystal. I didn't schedule this morning, so I probably threw you all off. Good afternoon, F.E. Gaskins from Baltimore. I was in your city for just a few minutes. I flew in. It was easier to fly into that airport to get to DC. I was in DC one evening this week, and I caught the train from there to head to DC. Hi, Crystal. Crystal. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Glad to have y'all. Hi, Linda. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had a hard time getting in. It might have been my fault. I didn't schedule. I'm behind this morning. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Cynthia. So that may have been your challenge. It may have been my fault, so my apologies. All right. How's everybody's Sunday going? How's your week been? All of the things. As I shared, I was In DC, I went to an event. Uh, was it a book tour? So you all may know Icon Accidental, the our older woman friend turned model accidentally. She's on a book tour, and some of my friends, Mahogany Bookstores, Black-owned bookstore in DC, their owner, Ramunda, is a friend of mine, and she hosted one of the legs of the book tour. And so my friend Christine, who is the Afro minimalist online, whose book I've talked about and shared with you all in the downsizing journey to help you navigate that space, downsizing from the understanding of why people hang on to stuff and the emotional attachment and how to deal with the emotional side of it. Christine wrote that book, so the she's an Afro minimalist, and then my friend Elizabeth White, whose book 55 and Faking Normal, I think is the title of her book. And we're going to talk to Elizabeth. So she was going to be on this Sunday, but she had a busy week. So I think it's next Sunday that we'll connect with her. But Christine and Elizabeth were kind of the moderators for Lynn's leg of the book tour, and it was a fabulous event. So I did that this week and had a chance to spend some time in that area. Um, Michelle says, good, glad to be here. Worked last week and had to watch the replay. You were missed. I'm glad you checked out the replay. I did see your comment. I'm kind of behind, y'all. I'm working on that tiny house festival, and it is kind of taking up all of my time, but in a good way. So I am behind. Let's see. Judith is saying, yes, our weather is better. We had 60-mile-per-hour winds, a big mess afterwards. Yeah, that sounds like a big, big mess. Wind is not my friend either. Out there on the farm, I experience wind a lot because I don't have anything to buffer. Like in the city, you have sometimes buildings and things to buffer wind. So I have nothing, just a big open field. So when that wind comes through there, it's often um, disrespectful, I always say. Fortunately, I've also shared that my house doesn't, like if my house rocked or moved or anything like that with wind, it would have been game over for me a long time ago. So yeah, wind is something else. Linda, okay, thank you. Thank you for that grace. Hi, Robert. Hi, Robert. Yes, Christine Platt Michelle. So it was a fabulous event. We went to dinner afterward. It's always good for me. Sometimes I feel like I need to um, be in spaces in where there's community happening. Y'all know my community out on the farm are some feral cats right about now. So I am. And that's kind of, I think, a good subject that we can talk about. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal is reminding y'all to like this video right now. Um, is to one of the things, a lot of the conversation that we shared on the event was Thursday evening. A lot of the conversation that was had, and it was said from multiple people about how oftentimes we're experiencing something or going through something or like a change in life and kind of uncertain about direction. But one of the things that we'll do is not seek out community and just kind of sometimes suffer in silence. And not recognizing that there are other people who are going through what you're going through, or other people who could benefit from you sharing, because then it helps them put a name and some feelings and some understanding around what they're going through, so they don't, because sometimes you can suffer in feeling like, you're weird, or you're going through something unheard of and don't have the necessary support systems. And so being in community and sharing as much as you can. And sometimes there's a lot of vulnerability in that. There's a lot, not sometimes, there's always a lot of vulnerability in that. But there's so much sometimes to be gained from sharing that experience and finding other people who are experiencing the same or who have experienced the same that can actually provide some guidance to you, or going through the same thing and can be community for you as you all navigate whatever this unknown is, and provide support and help there. So it's that was a lot of the conversation on Thursday, of how people didn't recognize how many people were being affected by whatever it is that they were going through, and the fact that when they started sharing, like my friend Elizabeth, 55 and faking normal, she has um, stellar educational credentials. And I'm not going to tell her story because we're going to talk to her. But getting older and starting to experience challenges, and losing jobs, and then having impact to housing, then it wasn't, she was kind of stuck in this place where she was pretending to be okay. And then she wrote, and it was probably more of a release for her, but she wrote a kind of an essay or a blog post about her experience, and it went viral. And once it went viral, then she realized just how many people were in this place that she was in, and how many people needed the conversation that she was bringing out. And it has been a beautiful ride for her going forward in navigating that space, and then also helping others to navigate the space. And so we're going to talk to her, but just the importance of that, of community. And hi, Diane, welcome, 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 welcome. Hi, Day. um, Oh, Crystal is in Sam's Club. I hope you're getting some good snacks. Hi, Rachel. Um, Robert is saying, by the way, I didn't mean to vent off on your show last week. I'll be more mindful in the future. That's what it's about. So you don't have to be more mindful. I think if nothing else, I want this community to be about sharing your thoughts, differing opinions, for us to have conversation. That's what happens in community. So I don't need you to be more mindful. I appreciate the apology, but I, I didn't take any offense to it. I felt like it was an important piece of our conversation. You shared your thoughts, and I was able to share my thoughts. So I appreciated the conversation. So no need to be more mindful. That's what we're here for, and I appreciate you as part of this community. Hi, V. Good morning. Good afternoon. Um, so yeah, and so for me, it's the reminder that um, I think one of the things that we have to acknowledge, and I have to acknowledge, like, I think there's been so much change in how we move, and how we're moving about the world in life, kind of. And I don't want to say, I hate saying post COVID, because it's not post COVID, because COVID is here and will be here. I guess post the onset of COVID is basically what I'm saying. Life, like, there was this hard break, and life changed, and life, I think so many people were expecting society as well as themselves to go back to the person that they were um, before we had that happen. And I feel like that's impossible. And so the expectation to the kind of um, giving yourself grace is a big thing in understanding, like, this is different terrain that we're now navigating. And as I'm saying all of these things, this is a conversation that I have to keep having with myself, and reminding myself. I'm looking for I was looking for a quote I'd seen the other day. But everything has changed, and navigating this new space, these new emotions, these new things that have risen. I feel like we saw society hit this really awful point. There was so much loss and so much unknown, so much loss. No time to really grieve because the loss was just happening, over and over again, and you couldn't gather, you couldn't really grieve like our communities are used to grieving, like in community, like that's part of our grieving process, to be able to gather in community and support each other. And so there was no opportunity to do that. And so then you've got this compacted loss and pain of grief that just piles on top of each other, and then you kind of get out again. I'm not saying post COVID because COVID is still here, but then you get back out and things have opened back up, and the expectation is that you're supposed to get back to normal, and there's a new normal, and there won't ever be the normal again because there's so many things. It was like Pandora's box was opened, and there was a lot of evil that we had not seen all at once or seen as a collective, because like during being in quarantine, everybody was a captive audience, and so there was so much that was seen during that time that you can't unsee. That in times prior, people going about their lives and doing their things and moving about, some people didn't pay attention to what was going on, but here it was that captive audience of having to pay attention, and you can't unsee the things that we've seen. And so now trying to figure out what the new normal looks like, because we're not ever going back to what people considered normal, because in my opinion, it wasn't actually normal. It was like everybody was working, overworking and on the hustle, in the grind, and trying to make ends meet, um and people like pull yourself up by your bootstraps was the thing that people would like to throw out, and there was the expectation that everybody should be doing well and doing okay, and people weren't. And then it was that break, and the haves got to see, and sometimes experience what the have-nots had been saying all the time, and you can't unsee that, and you can't undo that. And I think the people who are trying to get back to what they considered normal are the people that are in the struggle, because it is now the figuring out of how we do things differently, and the figuring out that from a collective standpoint, we need each other, and we have to work with each other, and we have to do things differently, in order to be successful. And success looks like, success for the whole, not just success at an individual level. Um, so that's kind of, where I've been. Especially with my health stuff, it's just like the another rug was pulled out, and so it's now figuring out what that go forward looks like. um Michelle is saying, I look forward to hearing this story. I think I'll be working, may have to watch the replay. I'm 71 and had to go back to work part-time. 71, Hoya Michelle. um what? Okay, I have gotten thrown off. Corporate training background and now in retail. I totally got thrown off. Okay, Michelle. Michelle is 71. I don't believe her, but okay. I will need to see some ID. Black don't be cracking. That's all I got to say. Um, I am now to go back. This is the going back to work, the part time, all of the things. I'm really sorry that you're having to experience that, and I feel like that's part of what I was just speaking to, like the new normal, what that looks like, and what we're now having to do to take care of ourselves. But I also want to say, your 71 is beautiful. Um, I think I think we'll all be able to relate to her story. And there's a big tie-in to the housing work. So I've known, well, I'm not getting ready to tell all the story because, but I've known Elizabeth for a number of years now. and there's an absolute tie-in to tiny houses that we're going to talk about. So I think it'll be a great session, and I'm glad you'll watch the replay. We'll miss you for sure. Yes, Teresa, I was saying that she was gonna be on this Sunday, but I knew she had a lot going on, so we pushed it out to next Sunday. So we'll have a guest there. Absolutely, the new normal. Um, yes, and Cynthia saying COVID magnified the truth. Absolutely. I think some people felt like they were learning, like there were new things that happened that they weren't aware of, and it wasn't new. It was stuff that they were able to ignore previously. And I agree with that 100%. COVID magnified the truth, and we can't unsee that. Yes, Michelle. I'm still stuck on Michelle said she was 71. But okay. B is saying being normal wasn't even normal, so hopefully now it's about being true to self. Absolutely. Um, absolutely. Like for so much, I think like it was a society of people faking it, of the expectations of what they felt like they were supposed to be doing and what normal was supposed to be. And I agree with that 100%. Linda is saying to you, Michelle, hey, a sister in kind. I'm going on 70 and had to go back to work. And the thing that I struggle with is, and we had this conversation too as part of the book tour, because the accidental icon, Lynn, I don't want to tell a lie, but I'm thinking Lynn might be older than 70s, in her 70s. Um, but she and Elizabeth were also talking about other countries and how um, the aging is dealt with, and the opportunities for people aging in other countries, and the care and the resources and the support that's provided in other countries, and why I feel like for especially for Black women, why the mass exodus is happening from the United States to go to places where you can thrive and where you can um, you can make it on less, and the healthcare systems and resources in place to support the aging, and people actually respect the aging, because I feel like for a lot in the U.S., as you start aging, there's a feeling of being discarded, like you're not valued in this society, and so there's a lot of conversation about how that's not the case in other countries, and that to me is one of the things, and I've always said it, like I feel like in travel helped me become aware of this. Like I think there's a lot of arrogance in the United States, as we say we're the greatest, not we, let me change that. As the United States says it's the greatest country in the world. There's so much arrogance there and then once you start traveling and seeing other countries, where other countries might not have the same financial resources, but they're so rich in other ways, and they're so rich in access to good food, and they're so rich in community, and the way they move through community, and the way they value families and time with families, and the way they value their elders. And so I hate to hear that for both of you, but it's the reality. I mean, it's the reality for all of us. Absolutely. Thank you, Casey. Casey is encouraging you all to take some time to like this video right now. So the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, once you start liking the videos and sharing my videos, that's how it draws people to my channel. And y'all know I'm trying to do the things to avoid having to remain in corporate America so I can take care of my health and be well. So thank you. I thank y'all for supporting and sharing and doing all the things. Michelle is saying, and I'm living in the smallest house I ever have, and I actually am now, I think you're saying, loving it. Christine's book is great on all levels. Absolutely. I think, and we were talking about that, because the downsizing process. So I've always shared that in my downsizing process, I had the benefit of like over 10 years to downsize for the most part. So when my daughter left the home that she had grown up in to go to undergrad, and I sold the house a year after that, from selling my house to building my tiny house was um, almost exactly 10 years. And so I had the benefit of time to downsize, because what I did after I left that house was start gradually moving into smaller spaces. So I started out in a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath condo. And then after my house was 4 bedroom, 3 baths. Then I moved into a condo, and then just kind of downsizing over the course of 10 years. So as I was making those moves, I was then downsizing in getting rid of stuff getting rid of stuff and gifting stuff and doing all the things. But I had the opportunity to do it, so it wasn't as drastic or as emotional as, okay, this month I'm living in this large space, and next month I'm living in this small space, and I got to get rid of 50% of my stuff. And so doing so allowed me to process those emotions and move through it, because people, again, don't recognize that there is emotion in doing so. The attachment to stuff, and not necessarily a bad attachment, but the stuff becomes part of who you are and part of your lifestyle. Like, even now, in my smaller space, there are some things that I have to have that make home for me there. And when I move about and when I travel, there are things that I need to have set up that make home for me. And so that is to be understood in ownership of a home and ownership of stuff, and processing that emotion. And then when you think about our community and the fact that we often haven't had, and so when we do have stuff and we gather stuff and we take pride in possessions, and maybe you spend, some good money on something because it was a dream to get this thing, and then you start having the downsizing conversation, and now you're asking me to part with this thing or these things that have been instrumental to me in this time period where I was successful and doing all the things, and it kind of represents who I am. And now you're asking me to get rid of that stuff to live in a smaller space. That's a hard conversation. Even especially for our community. It's also part of why tiny houses, to consider tiny houses, is a hard conversation for our community, because success in our society looks like a lot, and it looks like big, and it looks like having a lot of things, and that is how people judge each other on their success. What kind of car do you drive? Where's your house? How big is your house? What's the square footage of your house? What neighborhood is your house in? And all of those things that define, that's the conversation that people have when they meet you. What do you do? My name is Jewel, and I am a such and such. What do you do? Where do you live? And those are the things that people start forming their opinion and judging you by. And so that is um, our society. And so now to ask someone to undo some of that stuff and get rid of that stuff, and that's like shedding. It becomes, for so many people, shedding who they are, and that's traumatic in some ways. And Christine's book talks a lot about that, and that emotional side of it. Um, it's so much easier when you've had and you've always had and you have access to things, to get rid of stuff. Like, even like when you think about kids and you want to think about buying them a car, or buying them things. As parents, they take more pride and are invested more in things that they earn for themselves, versus I'm buying something for you, or I'm gifting something for you. They take more care of things when they've invested in or had to work for it, or something like that. And so it because that becomes part of them, they have some emotional attachment to it, that they had to do the thing, or this represents something for them in their journey. And so it's kind of the same way with us and our things and our stuff in that downsizing process. But then once you kind of get started in the process, because the other side of that can lend itself to hoarding and overconsumption and the having of way too much. And so trying to be in balance of that is important because I was having this conversation with Elizabeth. We had lunch Friday before I left, and I was telling her how I didn't go into the tiny house movement as what people would consider a minimalist. And I still don't say I'm a minimalist today. But what this lifestyle has taught me is how to not gather and have so much. It has taught me it is how to travel lighter. I can travel with a backpack, and I can travel with a backpack for a week, at least a week or more travel. And there's some lightness to that. There's some freedom and some liberation in that. And so I often, and when I am out of sorts mentally, when I am out of sorts, that is evident to me and people who know me who are paying attention to me in in the way my home is. Like my home will be out of sorts. Um, and it's out of sorts kind of right now. Some of it has to do with the change of seasons, but it is out of sorts because I'm out of sorts and navigating this new space. So, but there's some freedom and some liberation because I think all of that crosses over to like paying attention to your mail because when you start thinking about hoarding and you look at you if you watch those shows, you realize there starts happening some mental imbalance with those people. And they may not have started out that way, as people are surprised that, oh my God, I can't believe their house looks like this. That's not the same person that they know, but something starts happening mentally. And the hoarding and the gathering of stuff is a contributing and a sign to that person's mental state. So they have newspapers from 30 years or mail that they're not going through because it's the overwhelm. Like when you're in this place of um like right now, I can speak to I got medical bills coming in and it's just like I'm gonna be paying medical bills and my insurance is covering some of it, but some of it I'm obligated to pay. And when I'm on a leave right now, so my income is greatly reduced from full time work, and I've got bills piling up, and so it is oftentimes easier to just not deal with it, and then you let that stuff pile up because it's just like I can't deal with that right now. I'm trying to deal with my health stuff. And so you just let stuff pile up. And so that's how, you begin that path of, of the gathering and the hoarding of the things and just becoming overwhelmed. And at some point it gets to a point where you can't even deal with it because it's just kind of so out of control. So, um, the understanding those emotions is really important um, to process as you're trying to getting rid of stuff and downsize. Um, Teresa is saying, Jewel, the new normal is an adjustment for everyone. That is why so many of us won't tolerate the just over broke job. We want and need more. I won't settle, and everyone has their own journey. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, Wayne. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, Wayne is saying, Grand Rising to all. I'm outside in sun rays, spring gardening, charging, DIY solar generators, listening. Changed my whole lifestyle to be self-sustainable in all the ways the worldwide virus woke me up. Yeah, there was, for people who are paying attention, there was a big awakening happening there. Um, Michelle is saying, yes, other countries respect and take care of their older citizens. For me, it is, when I'm traveling, I take joy in just like the family dynamic. So you always see um, like people walking in the community, and you see you'll see older people and they're holding on to the arms of the younger people, like would be their grandchildren or maybe, great grandchildren. And they're in conversation, but there's just that respect in the family dynamic where the elders are revered and treated, for the wisdom and guidance that they bring and the love. And I always, always, always love seeing that. And it's not something that you really see here. Um, Rosalind is saying, after traveling internationally, I'm convinced that America is absolutely not the best country in the world. I think Senegal and Cuba, and I now say Cuba, has the U.S. beat. Um, Cuba, I just came back from Cuba. Was it February? Yes. Cuba was a challenge for me in their level of poverty. Loved, loved, loved the country, the people, the culture, loved all of that. It was hard for me to see their poverty, but I agree that there's a lot to be said in community, in outside of the U.S. for real. Casey is saying, can someone tell me the title of Christine's book? I joined this live late today. Absolutely. I will share a link to her book. Less is um, and I had the benefit of um, being in her book. I wrote part of I wrote a part of my journey. Christine and I connected years ago for on tiny houses because obviously there's that connection in um, less in tiny houses and all of the things. So um, I am. She asked me to be part of her book, and so I am in there. All right, there's the link to her book on Amazon. Feel free to. I just knew that was the easiest place to find it, but feel free to buy it from a better bookstore, a community bookstore, a black-owned bookstore. But that is the book. Um, all right, let me go back to see. Um, there's some comments that okay, so I was at Roslyn. Okay, so Casey, there you are. I've added the book. Crystal is saying less is more for me. I'm starting to accumulate too much crap being in the townhouse now. That's the thing that starts happening once your size increases. And I know you're speaking to this, like going from van life to now having a townhouse. And before you were so good at um being mindful of your space and the things you have, and then once you have the available space, it's just like unconsciously that stuff starts growing, and then you recognize, okay, I got to get this together. Michelle is saying Italy is wonderful. I haven't been to Italy. That's on my to-do list. um V is saying, I'm considering providing tiny houses for either senior citizens or handicapped or the differently abled. That's excellent and very needed. You're gonna enjoy this conversation that we have with Elizabeth because, like I said, her work involves housing for olders and not old the aging, not necessarily like assistant living, but housing and community. Because that's the other thing that you find when you start aging we need community, and so that's a fabulous thing, and I think you'll really enjoy the conversation with Elizabeth. um, Latasha is saying, I'm now in a studio apartment. It's nice and I have access to everything I need, and even with this smaller space I have things I still don't use. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that we continue to learn, like even in clothing, like you gravitate to the same outfits. You can have a closet full of stuff, but you gravitate to wearing the same thing or the same shoes. And so I agree with And that's the same for me in my tiny house. I have stuff in there that I don't use, clothing and the like. So I agree with that. Michelle is saying I cleaned out three-fourths of what I had when I moved from my townhouse in Connecticut to North Carolina. Then again, when I moved from my apartment to my current home, my apartment was bigger than my current home. Um, Casey is saying Americans are the folks that always ask, "What do you do?" The minute they meet you, as Americans seem to need to put everyone in a box. Rarely do strangers ask me that question when I travel abroad. Absolutely. And that is the thing that I feel like as Americans we struggle with, because then when you answer, I'm such and such at this organization, and then when the time comes and you're no longer that such and such at that organization, or God forbid you get fired or laid off, then there's the identity struggle, because for so long you've been so and so who was the such and such at such and such organization, and now you're struggling to even know who you are, because you've identified for so long in that space, and that's how you've identified yourself, that you don't even really know who you are. And so that is the challenge in the way that we view um, who we are in the States versus um, I'm Jewel, and I'm an introvert and an empath, and I'm in the struggle right now. That kind of stuff, where that's really who I am. From a work perspective, I'm a product manager, I'm a project manager, um, or Jewel, and I'm a housing advocate. I don't. That's not necessarily a job title, but it is what I do. It is what the passion that I have about it, and so it doesn't necessarily put me in a box. And it's, I don't feel like it's a title that um, is going to as if I was to say, I'm the president of such and such org, and then when I'm not, I don't know who I am. So I agree with that for sure. Um, yes, Teresa, hoarding is real. Um, Teresa's asking, do I have Aflac through work? I do not. Um, I do not. Crystal is saying, I feel like I watch the TV show Hoarders, and that makes me want to clean the house and downsize and get rid of stuff. It absolutely will, because some of those people you can relate to, especially when like their families start telling their stories of who they were before this happened, and then something happened, and it was kind of a break, or you just look at their stuff and you say, oh my God, I don't want to be in that situation. Let me get a handle on this pile of clothes that has been sitting here that I'm not doing anything with, or this pile of papers, let me go through. Because and for me, it is, when I say people who know me should know when I'm in the struggle, because it is part, for me, part of what I was saying to you all. Like, I've been ostriching, where I just, because I am in this place of uncertainty, it has been my nature to just kind of be in avoidance of the unknown, and these um for me, like the challenge that I'm going through right now. And so the ostriching for me has been like kind of avoiding the work that I know I need to be doing, or avoiding checking emails, or avoiding um putting up clothes and stuff. And so to me it is obvious for me when I'm in that space. And so I agree with that 100%. Hello, Liberty Serenity. Thank you so much. Um, Day is saying, since retiring in November 2022, I started downsizing. At 50, I realized that all this stuff is in my way. I'm doing great getting rid of it. Congratulations. One of the things I liked about Christine's books too is that she offered suggestions of how to get rid of stuff and how to downsize. And it is the stuff that I've also shared, because sometimes there are things that it's hard for you to part with. And I've often shared that those types of things that maybe you can share with somebody in the family, in that um, I can tell my friends who don't know what I do that I'm YouTubing, and they call me. You you can share with people in your family, so that if this is something that you absolutely adore, gift it to somebody in the family, so that when you visit that family member, you can see that thing and visit with that thing and know that it is still in your family. Or gifting things and thinking of it as not getting rid of stuff, or just necessarily downsizing, but thinking of it as gifting things to organizations that are helping new families get started, or that are helping um, women get back into the job force, if it's clothes and things that they would need to wear to an interview. Places like that, so you're not just dropping it off at the Goodwill or the Salvation Army, where they're just going to resell it. Places that, or in organizations that are helping the community and helping people who otherwise wouldn't have opportunity. And then some of it, selling, because then it is providing some income for you that you might need. So for me, some of that income went to um, building my tiny house. And so just kind of keeping in mind, there are opportunities, so that you can feel like you're doing some good as you're getting rid of the things that might be causing you a bit of anxiety, um, as you're doing so. So Cynthia is saying packing lighter has been talked about in a prayer group I'm in, travel and life, letting go of the unnecessary. Absolutely. Um, And Crystal, Teresa is saying, Crystal, that is why we have the whole spring cleaning thing. I also purge and donate thing. For me, I feel like it is part of my season of like the nesting. Like I know during certain times, like as the season change, I feel like I need to do deep cleaning and getting rid of stuff, or gifting stuff and donating stuff, and then just kind of purging and cleaning. So I agree with that. Absolutely. Um, Kai, hi Kai, I don't know that I know your name. Welcome. I am in a 288 square foot tiny home and got rid of a lot of stuff. Even now, I only buy 1 to 2 plates and or bowls. I try to replace what I no longer need. I agree with that. So I am big on bringing something in and taking something out, or absolutely being mindful of what I'm bringing into the home. I agree with that. Now I do have more plates and bowls than that, because my house has generally previously been the gathering spot. So I want to be able to still support that. Casey is agreeing. Cuba, the people are absolutely beautiful people. Um, um, Crystal is saying, I tried to purge monthly or each season. I really am trying to maintain a van life size space, because I will be back in the van soon. Yes, yes. Oh, Kai is in North Carolina, on some family land. Kai, do you mind sharing where you are in North Carolina? Oh, you're very welcome, Casey. Um, Key is saying you must replenish your energy daily. Music helps me. Listen to Zap Mama CD Adventures in Afropia. Specifically the song. Yes, I have that song in my rotation. Um, thank you, Key. Um, Casey, we're working on that. Um, Teresa is saying loving our stuff more than our people and enjoying life. This is the struggle. Yep, yep, yep. Crystal is saying clothing and shoes aren't my problem. I've gotten back into crafting and it's getting to be too much. Most will go to work, but I have more than I actually need still. And Crystal is saying, who's coming to the North Carolina Tiny House Festival next month? April 13th and 14th. There's a workshop on the 12th that's going to be an excellent workshop. We're inviting um, city, county officials, planners, people over municipalities, the people who are responsible for code and zoning, the people who are responsible for making those decisions that are saying no to tiny houses. We're inviting all of them to this workshop. And the general public. And the workshop is going to be led by Dan Fitzpatrick, who has been doing the work on the West Coast to get tiny houses, who has been instrumental in the work on the West Coast to get tiny houses legalized. tiny houses as ADUs. Those cities in California that allowed tiny houses. Dan was involved in that work and in some other states and cities there. So he's leading the workshop, as is Jinky Eccles. And Jinky developed a tiny house community, I think it's 35-acre tiny house community in Florida, and the community is made up of houses on wheels and on foundation. And she had to work with her area to change the code and the zoning to get it permitted. So they're going to be sharing the work that they've done and the actual code that needed to be changed in kind of case study, so that for those of us who are trying to do that work here and in other areas, we have that as the guide to know how to do this same work, and then having these officials in the room so that they can talk to the people who can talk code language with them and see how they can make change to allow um, to consider tiny houses and movable tiny homes as options for affordable housing. So I'm excited about the Friday workshop, and then the festival. Friday and Saturday. And I've shared on all of my socials, and I've shared here before. One of the things that I have pushed back on the tiny house community for all of these years is their lack of inclusion and diversity. And the harder I push, like in content and in speakers, like I don't want, quit rolling out a speaker lineup that's not diverse, and especially now at this time, there are plenty of Black and Brown people who live in tiny houses or who can speak to communities and um, the downsizing, like the subjects around tiny houses. There are plenty of Black and Brown people who can do so. And as I pushed years back, and not just and in content, in people and in content, because again, as I started sharing the fact that my tiny house journey was different than my counterparts, y'all have to know, where can I put a tiny house, but I also have to know, where can I put a tiny house and where can I be safe, because rural areas are more accepting. But am I safe in a rural area? And my experience has shown in some places I'm not safe, which is why I've had to move my house. And so having the conversations that include that kind of content and conversation, so that people who look like me and look like us will know what the challenges are that they're going to have to deal with, or talking about financing and talking about financing for tiny houses. It really kind of caters to people with good credit, and what are some options, or how do we change that, or how do we work on this housing solution for tiny houses and movable tiny homes, so that we're pulling in the people who are left out of the larger conventional tiny house, the larger conventional housing ownership conversation. How do we make sure that we're addressing and including them in this conversation? Because the unhoused and the Black and Brown people are the people who need housing, because they don't have housing, home ownership in traditional areas. And so, again, the harder I push, the harder they push back. And I've shared that somebody, and I'm pretty sure I know, there are two people two men who in the tiny house community that are suspects for the anonymous email that I got, the threatening email that they were coming for me. Um, so it led to them threatening me because I was apparently causing drama, but the drama was doing the right thing and making sure that all of the people who need to be at the table are at the table and being included in the conversation. And so I said all of that to say that I am in charge of the speaker lineup for the festival, and I have been working on being the change that I wish to see. So the speaker lineup, the people, and the content is very diverse and inclusive, um, because that is important to me. Because we need to see ourselves, we need to hear our conversations and be represented. So the festival, in case you didn't catch last week's conversation with Kim Delaney. It's Kim's organization that is it created the festival, and she pulled me in as a member of her board. Kim has the go ahead to create a tiny house community on Foundation in Concord, and so she pulled me in. And for me, it's a no brainer to support, because I support, but also because the next part of the conversation is tiny houses on wheels. And so, that's my jam. So, please join us if you can for the Tiny House Festival. We are trying to, I'm going to drop a link for the festival. We are trying to see if we'll be able to add a virtual opportunity for attendance. I don't know that it will happen for sure, but we are investigating that next week to see if it's something that we can afford, but if, or we can offer, I should say. But if you are able to join us in person, I would absolutely love to have you there. Um, let's see. Let me go back to where I was. Thank you, Crystal, for throwing that in there. Um, Kai is saying I love, and I hope I'm saying your name wrong. I mean, right. I love how many 70 plus folks we're seeing on here. I agree. Um, Michelle, I'm hoping to see you. Let's see. Hi, Nicole. Hi, everyone. Joining from Atlanta. Thank you for the conversation. My goal is to live smaller, and I'm noticing the stuff I've accumulated and what has been attached to my identity, like work. Absolutely. It is real. Absolutely. Glad you are recognizing that and working through it. Um, okay, so Casey is saying I need the dates to see if it's feasible. Okay, so the Tiny House Festival, there's a pre-festival workshop that is happening on that Friday, April 12th. The festival itself is April 13th and 14th. And I just dropped the link in the chat. So the pre-festival workshop is all of this information is on the website. So the workshop is Friday the 12th. The festival itself is the 13th and 14th. It's at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Um, and it's going to be fabulous. Nicole is saying doing the pre-work now to declutter and being intentional in spending, etc., etc. You are on your way. Congratulations to you. Um, Congratulations. Crystal is saying give clothes to abused women's shelters. Absolutely. Teresa is saying I give to the local HBCU, and those are the places that make you know that you're offering, like your whatever it is that you're gifting is going to a good cause and going to help someone that you can feel good about, and I absolutely support that. Um, KC is saying I've got to stay out of Home Goods, TJ Maxx, and Marshalls because they are my weakness. I always see stuff there that I never knew I needed until I saw it. I truly have to stay out of those stores. And so my thing is, I'm an appliance. I love appliances and gadgets. And so, and I love decor. Like I love um, design, decorating, and decor. And so I always chuckle as I'm in those places, and like when I'm in Home Depot and Lowe's, because I see the new washer and dryers and the new refrigerators and all that stuff, and I keep saying, God, I want one of those. And sometimes I think I'd like to have a big house just to have all these gadgets in there. I don't need them. Like I see the new dishwashers, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I don't even like dishwashers. Like I've had dishwashers and always washed my own dishes. I use the dishwasher as the holder, and I never have food in I mean, well, I'm telling a lie because I do have food now because I live in the country. I have to have food in my refrigerator, else I'm gonna die. Because there's no Uber, or I mean, there's no food delivery. So I do have groceries, but I don't have major groceries where I need a new refrigerator or anything like that. But I see all this stuff and I see the decor, and I'm a World Market girl, and I used to be a World Market and Pier 1 girl. So I see all this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, look at that picture. I just really would like to put that somewhere. So I need to find some people who like my design style and get into business and just let them and have them let me design their spaces, because I really see joy in that. So I'm with you, Casey. I got to stay out of those places too. Rosin is saying I reorganized my shed and I see a whole lot more stuff I can get rid of. decluttering is so liberating. It absolutely is. There is an absolute lightness in decluttering and getting rid of stuff and seeing open space and knowing that you are doing some good for yourself. I absolutely agree with that. Um, um, oh, Crystal is sharing how the donating clothes at the shelter have benefited her. Um, that's a sad but beautiful story. Um, Casey is saying, I've been downsizing for the last several months and still feel like I have too much stuff. Um, it's a process. So you'll go into I look around and ask myself, Casey, are you really going to be able to fit in the tiny girl? Really? Absolutely. So you'll go into the tiny, and maybe you'll even have storage in the beginning, but over that first couple of years, you'll find your place and you'll get rid of the stuff, because then you'll start realizing I can't do it with all this stuff. And then you'll recognize the storage is money that you can have in your pocket, and then you'll go through and get rid of stuff. And so it's a process, and you have to offer yourself some grace, but absolutely you will be able to fit in the tiny house. Roxanne is saying, where in North Carolina? Are you asking about the festival, Roxanne? If that's the case, the festival is in Concord, North Carolina, which is right outside of Charlotte, and it is being held at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But the link that I dropped, I'll drop it again, has all the information. It also offers areas where you can stay. Let's see. Uh, Absolutely, Crystal. Plenty, plenty, plenty. Um, that was the same question. Thank you, Teresa. Oh, B. Cooper, you're planning to be at the festival. I'm looking forward to that. Casey is asking, will there be tiny houses at the festivals or vendors showing their houses? Yes, there will be tiny houses. There will be schoolies. There will be some bands. My friends Vaughn and Jay, um, they've changed their name on Instagram, and I don't know what it is right off the top of my head. Let me see if I can look. But I interviewed Vaughn and Jay. They have a van, and they design themselves, and um, and she also has a small tiny house as an ADU in her backyard. She Jay and Vaughn are going to share their tiny house. What is their new name? On Instagram. Let me just, why don't I see it in my chats? Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to find. Anyway, I have gotten sidetracked, but why can't? Oh, Let's Van Glamp. Let's period Van Glamp is the name of their um IG account, but they'll be there. So yes, there will be vendors and all of those things. Crystal saying, no friends here. I'm lonely. Crystal, you got to go to the friends. I'm doing the same thing. Christian is asking, hi, Christian. That's a new name. Thanks. Welcome here. What's y'all's thoughts on continuing sustainability in small spaces, like balancing purchases that eventually take space but have multiple uses versus more single use things you can throw away? For me, the preference is to have things that have multiple uses so that you're not throwing stuff away, because that isn't contributing to sustainability. So the more you can use things or have things that have multiple uses, that is what I would suggest. For me, as I think about that, like sustainability, even from a clothing and shopping perspective, I've shared that I'll spend more money on on clothes. I'll spend more money on shoes so that I know that it's good quality stuff that I'm going to. I'm also good for finding a pair of shoes that I really like and then buying them in, more colors. Because that means I'll have them for a longer time period because they're made better, they'll last longer. So that's something that I do. So the single use throwaway items, they're obviously not the best use um, of our, I guess I would say, our landfills. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm using, like, I know that there are paper towels, like getting rid of using individual, throwaway paper towels. There's some options there for things that you can use over and over. I haven't gotten to that level of sustainability, but that absolutely is the recommendation. Okay, so yes, Roxanne, you were talking about the festival, so I did answer that. So thank you, and thank you, Teresa, for thank y'all for helping each other in the chat and looking out for each other. I appreciate y'all. So Casey, maybe you asked before I got to say it. We are hoping, we're actually meeting with a vendor next week to see if we'll have the opportunity to offer the festival online. I can't say at 100%, because that's going to be an additional cost, and this is the first year, and we're already struggling with um, with cost. So it's something hopeful that we're hoping to offer, but I can't say for sure. Um, um, I'm excited too, Latasha. Um, let's see. Yes, it is in the Concord area, just above Charlotte, up a I-85. Yep. I mean, off of I-85. Absolutely. Um, Day is saying, for those attending the Tiny House Festival, which hotel are you all booking? It would be nice to be able to recognize Miss Bohemian Soul's followers. Not sure if I'm attending. I want to. That's a good idea, Day. Maybe I can. That gives me an idea because I would love for y'all to have some t-shirt, my t-shirts, the Soul Collective t-shirts. So maybe I'll offer a discount. Let me make a note of that. I'll follow back up, and maybe if you all are interested in t-shirts, I can offer a discount, and that will help you purchase a t-shirt to have on site. That would make me smile. So I'll do that. I made a note of it. Um, I hope you get to come, Day. Let's see. Kitty is saying, thank you for using your voice to advocate for the communities to shift the mindset of tiny home living. Traditional home ownership no longer fits the mold for our families, friends, and communities. Absolutely. One of the things that I keep saying is, like, if we keep doing the same thing over and over and expect that we can um, create affordable housing, doing the same things that haven't been working. That is the whole definition of insanity, and we have to think differently and think creatively. And that session on Friday, that's absolutely the title of it: thinking creatively. Um, Yes, there is camping at the Speedway, and that's included in the information on the website. If you need camping, there's absolutely camping nearby because it's near it is at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and so there's a lot of camping that happens there. Key is saying, hi, I'm Key, and I'm a Hobby Lobby aholic, Michael's Bed Bath and Beyond, World Market, and any African inspired market. I simply make myself not buy any more stuff. I feel you. The beauty for me has gotten, so I realized when I first moved in my tiny house and I wasn't buying stuff anymore, I missed shopping. In a way, but I realized I can still shop and go to stores and walk around and look at stuff, and I don't have to buy. So that was like a life changer for me, that I can go in World Market and I can walk around and look at all the stuff and smile and touch stuff and take pictures, but I don't have to buy it. So that was a big change for me, but I realized I still needed to do that. Hi, love catching blessings. Welcome. Good morning from Southern California. Welcome. So Teresa is saying, so are we all wearing some of Jules' gear? I hope so. I'm going to give y'all a discount. I'll work on that so y'all can have a discount and order some stuff. I think that would be awesome as well. Um, Michelle is saying the first 1 to 2 years of my current home was stressful. I kept cleaning out and doing creative storage, and I love my place now and have no desire to be in a bigger place. There is an adjustment. I've always said that. Like there is the thing that allowed me to adjust so well was the fact that I designed my house for me. So that was the big thing, that I wasn't trying to fit myself into a space that wasn't designed for me. And then the other thing that helped me was that I incorporated some of my favorite pieces. Like I've spoken about Mandela, my African statue who has been at my front door since probably about 1998. Mandela is at the door of my tiny house. And so they're the pieces that I say just kind of make home for me. I still have those in my space. So things like that were key to my success, but it absolutely is a process of adjustment, and you'll reinvent yourself and recreate yourself several times over as you're adjusting to your new space. Um, KC is asking if I fly into North Carolina for the festival, will it be easy for me to get to the festival events? I hope Ubering won't be too expensive, or would it be cheaper to rent a car for 3 days? So, um, flying in the hotels that we have listed, the accommodations are nearby the venue, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. I would also imagine they offer shuttles, and so, because that's how close by they are. So, if you didn't want to rent a car, like if you were just mostly going to be doing the festival events, um, I, I don't know. I would do the comparison of how much a rental car is going to cost, because the last few times I went to rent a car, they were very expensive. Sometimes you can get like a rental car, like, um, well, not some. It hasn't happened for me in a long time, but I know sometimes I've gotten rental cars for maybe 50 or $60 for a weekend. For me, that makes sense, because if I'm Ubering, I'm probably going to spend that much for the weekend. So for me, I would say, okay, that rental car is worth it. But I haven't seen cheap rental cars anymore recently. So yes, the answer is yes, you will be able to get to the festival events. I also believe the hotels offer shuttles to the venue, because they're close by. Um, Hello, Steadfast. Welcome from Rochester, New York. Um, you can still send me some names, Crystal. Um, Absolutely. Still send me some names. We're still offering the option to people. Michelle is saying, I do miss my walk-in closet and linen closet. Yeah, you have to get creative on things like that. But was able to squeeze in my walk-in closet in my tiny house. So, I understand. Having a closet in my tiny house was non-negotiable, because that was one of the things, like I didn't want to have to be searching for my clothes and being unorganized. And so, um, Crystal is saying I'm rocking Crystal Vanna gear. I support you, Crystal. So yes. Okay. Well, she's gonna compromise and do both. So I understand. Casey is saying the same thing. I'll have a small walk-in closet in my tiny. Sorry, not sorry. I understand completely. Um, um, yes, I absolutely do. Absolutely. Um, yes, Michelle is saying I've always been a window shopper. I walk around getting ideas. I agree with that 100%. And Teresa says to be on the safe side, she leaves her wallet in the car. That's very smart. Good afternoon, know before you go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, Robert must have dropped off, because or Robert's been really quiet. He's still trying to, what did he say when he apologized? Unless he's just being quiet because he feels like he had to, even though I wasn't offended. Robert, I hope you understand I was not offended. I appreciated your contribution to the conversation. Um, Casey is saying there's a video online of a woman in an 8 by 24, and she has a walk-in closet. It's all in how you design the home. I don't understand why so many tiny homes don't include adequate storage space. So for when I was building, so many tiny house owners were into that minimalist movement. And so they had four shirts and four pairs of pants and stuff like that. So they didn't need a closet. And because the movement was so focused on minimalism, and they felt like to have more stuff was just not the purpose, as they would say, the purpose of going tiny is the so and so and so and so. And then for me, the purpose of going tiny was my purpose and what it meant to me, and it didn't, and what they were talking about didn't matter to me. And so then I designed my house to have a walk-in closet, because that was important to me. I don't want to have four shirts and four pairs of pants. So absolutely, is about knowing yourself and what you need from a space and designing that space to accommodate your needs or meet your needs. And that's important because that's how you will achieve longevity in tiny house living. That is how, as I approach the 10th year, that's how I am accomplishing, still loving my house, because I know what I need from a space and have been able to accommodate that. Um, Michelle is saying I didn't get to design my home. I live in the first and only senior community built by Habitat. Habitat is going to be part of the festival. So no, I understand that completely. You work with what you've got, and then you figure out also ways how to work around it and how to sometimes reconfigure the space. So I support and understand that at 100%. All right, I got a thumbs down today. I wonder what that thumbs down was for. Um, KC is saying you need to have a soul collective meetup at the festival happy hour. Absolutely. That would be that Saturday evening we could do something. Um I'm y'all know I'm down for it. That would be good. I would enjoy that. And there's plenty of stuff in the area. We could figure out how to do that and um, make a plan. So as we get closer, I'll figure out exactly who's coming. I'll come up with a discount. So if you want to order gear, no pressure, but if you want to order gear, I'll offer you a discount to do so. And then we'll plan to get together. All right. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being in community with me as always. This is just as important for me, to gather with you all and to absorb your energy. So I appreciate you all. Um, yeah, Teresa, I think that's a good idea. I would love that. All right. What else? I'm going to close out. I am going to visit some of my aunts. One of my aunts. Visited my aunt yesterday. My aunt Mary, who my aunt Mary's 100. She'll be 101 in July, and I talk about her often on social media. She gives me um, a run for my money. I visited her yesterday. She likes to talk about my hair. She was not a fan of my bald head, and she made sure to tell me every opportunity she got. She calls me by my full first name, which is Jewelin. I love my first name. I don't let Southerners call me by my first name because they make it two words, which is they make it Jewel Lynn, and I hate that. But my Aunt Mary is the only person who generally calls me Jewelin all the time, and she so now she's happy that she's the reason that I have hair on my head because I had been at home for a while, hadn't been going out and had not shaved my head and messed around and went over her house and I had a little bit of hair. And she was excited that I had a little bit of hair and she made sure to tell me how she really liked that and hoped I'd keep it and blah blah blah. And so I have not cut it because I don't want to disrupt the 100-year-old's life, since she's so invested in my hair. And so, but yesterday, so she likes my hair, but now she doesn't want me to let it get too big. And so she has asked me 3 times so far. She'll make sure she tells me she really likes my hair, but you're not going to let it grow much more. Or you're not going to let it get too big. And so yesterday I told her I probably was because I like big hair. And I hear my song, I like big butts. As I said, I like big hair. I can say that, sing that to that tune. But I like big hair. And when Elizabeth is on, when we interview Elizabeth, she has big, beautiful hair, and I love, love, love her hair. So yesterday I did tell my aunt that I'm probably going to let it get as big as it gets. And so she wasn't excited about that at all. But so I'm going to see another aunt today. And they keep me on my toes because they're kind of funny and make sure that okay, B, thank you. And so they speak their minds and say whatever. And it's always comical to me because I give it back to them. Thank you, Key. Thank you, Linda. Peace and blessings to you. Thank you, Key. Aunt Mary is Spitfire. She is. She is hilarious. And so I will be spending some more time with her soon, but going to spend some time with another aunt. I bought Aunt Mary, so I had to go to the wig store yesterday to buy Aunt Mary a new wig. And it's always hilarious to me that she wears a wig but has so much to say about my hair. But she's 100, so I just let her say whatever she needs to say. Um, yes, she's always showing me love. I am so she has a son in grandson. She has a granddaughter, but she's always said I'm the daughter she didn't have, and so I try to make sure I do all of the things so that Aunt Mary is happy and taken care of, and I adore her. So yeah, she is hilarious. Thank you, Kitty. I enjoyed it too. Um, oh, Rosalind is saying when she saw my closet, she knew she could do it too. She needs her clothes. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Casey is saying if I win this $1 billion lottery, I will fly all of y'all to the festival. You get a ticket and you get a ticket. Okay, Casey, we're gonna hold you to that. Yes, Aunt Mary is so beautiful. She's on my Instagram, and my Facebook page. I'm always telling the story of Aunt Mary because she's a trip. Um, thank y'all so much. Um, Everybody's gonna pack their bags. I hope you all can make it. We definitely will get together. I want to connect with my community because you all bring me so much joy. So, um, okay, V. Thank y'all. I will see you all next week. Um, I'm sorry, Casey. I know what that feels like. My family is very small. And she's Aunt Mary is 100, and it's gonna break my heart. Like, 'cause she's lived a long, beautiful life, and it's gonna break my heart when she's not here anymore. But I am so grateful that I get to spend time with her and listen to her give me a hard time and tell me all the things about my hair. Um, all right, happy Sunday. Have a great week. Thank you all for your support and encouragement and sharing in community. You all are fabulous, and I appreciate you all. All right, I'm closing out. Happy Sunday. Please do all of the things. Thank you so much. Um, please do all of the things to like the video, share the video, all of those things so that the community grows and my YouTube channel grows as a part of that, as I'm trying to grow all the things. I appreciate y'all. Okay, Casey, I'm looking forward to that. Happy Sunday. We'll talk again soon. Have a great week. Take care, everybody.